Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Alright, we're doing it now. There we go. Your submarine right back there. Titan, we'll get straightway to where we did right now. You're going. How's that work? There's really nothing that happens that requires an immediate response. Okay, so hear an alarm, just don't worry about it. The best thing you can do is don't do anything. I heard something. Yes, I got followed downtown. Some kind of object. Yeah, something is coming up to starboard.
I've reflected a lot about my time there, and my time there was not normal. I mean, I think back to the times where I was part of dives that happened, and thinking back how uncomfortable I felt bolting people into the sub. And so when that initial news article popped up and it said tourist sub lost in the Atlantic, I knew right away it was OceanGate.
US Coast Guard says it is bringing all assets to bear in the search for a missing submersible off the coast of Newfoundland, Canada.
Its last location, ping, was directly above the wreck of the Titanic. A frantic search now underway for the vessel, with oxygen fast running out.
I got a text from one of my colleagues at Submarine Rescue. Everything that I gave to the authorities, everything that had happened to me, everything that I'd seen, my concerns, they should have acted on it.
Good afternoon.
Nothing was done.
This is an incredibly complex search operation. The surface search is now approximately 2 times the size of Connecticut, and the subsurface search is up to 2.5 miles deep.
The search and rescue teams are working in incredibly challenging conditions.
It was last heard from an hour and 45 minutes into its dive, but OceanGate not sounding the alarm for another several hours.
As of yesterday, there were 2 C-130s that did search and rescue flights. By later today, an Air National Guard C-130 will also join the search.
My phone blew up just from folks sending me clips, articles. I would get a text, have you heard? What do you think? But then I knew we'd be sitting here one day. And here we are.
Back and forth texting between Clyde and said it's actually really happening.
Our thoughts and prayers are with the crew of the Titan and their loved ones. We will continue to work as hard and as quickly as possible in an effort to locate them. I will take a few questions.
It was a worldwide story all of a sudden.
I
außerdem der Chef des Veranstalters OceanGate.
I mean, this is truly the stuff of nightmares. It's unimaginable what the people in there are going through.
I didn't really know how to talk about it. I didn't know everyone on board, but I knew Stockton well.
5 people are on board, including the OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush, as well as 58-year-old British aviation billionaire Hamish Harding.
Pakistani businessman Shahzada Dayoud and his son Suleiman are also on board. And we understand French explorer Paul-Henri Lagelet, often referred to as Mr. Titanic, is also on the vessel.
What did you do first?
J'ai pleuré. Pendant 10 minutes, j'ai beaucoup pleuré, j'ai eu très peur.
Do you remember which authorities contacted you?
Les gardes-côtes américains.
In the last 2 hours, the US has confirmed that a Canadian aircraft detected underwater noises.
Yesterday, the Canadian P-3 detected underwater noises in the search area. As a result, ROV operations were relocated in an attempt to explore the origin of the noises.
C'était réconfortant de voir que... Alors, au moment des recherches, toutes les familles ont pensé qu'ils allaient les trouver. Tous, vraiment, on y croyait, on avait de l'espoir. Tout devait se faire très rapidement, mais bon, à ce moment-là, personne ne parlait comme s'ils allaient trouver des débris.
The story had the ingredients. It had Titanic. It had billionaires. It had running out of time.
Officials now believe it's down to less than 2 days' worth of breathable air.
The news had an oxygen count in the corner. And it was really hard to go on any sort of media.
The search for the missing submersible, which was on its way to the wreck of the Titanic, has covered an area nearly the size of Wales.
Court documents show that a former employee sued the company in 2018, claiming
Time really has become the most precious commodity.
I definitely doom scrolled a good while. My friends were checking in on me, making sure that I wasn't on my phone for too long.
I didn't do fucking shit!
What if all of this is actually a ploy to keep people from visiting the Titanic wreckage? But if that's the goal, why?
It's hard to put into words. And I felt a lot of different feelings, including anger. It was a very weird week. But even the first day, the general assumption was the worst.
The Coast Guard has officially convened a Marine Board of Investigation into the loss of the submersible and the 5 people on board. That investigation will be Investigator Bauer.
I was just about to retire from the Coast Guard, but I absolutely wanted this case because it was so unique that when the Admiral asked me if I would do it, I immediately said yes.
You can see a blue ship. It's called Polar Prince that took the submersible Titan out to sea. This ship is flagged in Canada. There will be representatives from the safety board there to receive them.
When something like this happens, the first thing you want to check for is jurisdiction. Anybody who has the flag state of a vessel involved in an incident automatically has jurisdiction.
The deadly implosion involved the American-made OceanGate Titan sub, which launched from a Canadian ship in international waters. So this is a complicated multinational investigation.
The Titan was not flagged by any foreign nation or a U.S. state. That was very unusual. Never seen that before.
Never seen it.
No, in 26 years of doing investigations. So,
how does that happen?
I think it happens by design.
Can we start with the lights off and turn them on? What else can you show me?
We have external lights here, but they are the dark. This is our oxygen systems. This is the mod we use for normal operation. All of these are emergency, the ones that are in red. So that's 4 days of emergency oxygen. Pilot's back here, just typically back here like this, two displays. So it can fly off the one.
And how do you drive it?
With this controller.
He was a humble human being, but he was an arrogant scientist for sure. Like, he knew he was smart. There was no doubt about it. He knew he was a genius here. Just the way he was talking, the confidence, he was a very confident person, right? Like, he says things with conviction, he tells you what he's gonna do, and he tells you why it works. The way he says it makes you go like, this guy knows what he's talking about.
I think we made great progress in the 60s and 70s on manned ocean exploration, and it died off for a lot of explainable but illogical reasons.
I have long felt mission is not an end in itself. To enter this great unknown medium is the privilege of our era.
Most scientists get involved in marine biology because they want to go in the ocean. They're interested in the ocean and they have a passion for it. Even if I gave you a 3D representation of the Grand Canyon and piped in the smell of sagebrush, it won't replace being there.
Down here, we can clearly hear the squeaks and clicks of the dolphins.
Being able to hear and see and feel the entire environment is something you can't duplicate.
They needed more exposure. That's where we came along. The stuff they were making was very basic. So the idea was make us videos so we can catch the attention of people, right? They had wild ideas like they want to take Pearl Jam in the submarine, or he talks about some floating city that could also submerge. Stockton used to say accessibility is ownership. If there's a small island in the middle of the ocean and you're the only one who can access it, doesn't matter who owns it, you have ownership over it because you have the accessibility to get to it. And he truly believed in that.
Hello, I'm Stockton Rush, and I was the pilot today on a dive to look at trawl sites off of Friday Harbor.
OceanGate was getting off the ground in Seattle. They were actually more focused on science and education.
Read you loud and clear topside, how many?
But in 2015, things started to change.
If you ever wanted to visit the wreck of the Titanic, well, your opportunity is coming. Tourists will be able to participate in the first submersible expedition to the Titanic since 2005. Mr. Rush, thanks for this today.
Oh, pleasure to be here.
At the time, I was probably the only person on the planet to Titanic before. 2.5 miles beneath the ocean surface lies the wreck of the Titanic. There she is. That is unbelievable.
We're an expedition company. We had delivered around 150, 160 people.
Why is it taking so long for something like this to come about? Because as you know, there's a lot of interest even to this day in the Titanic.
Yes, I don't think many people appreciate there are only 4 manned submersibles that can get to the depth of the Titanic.
A huge draw card.
I'm actually flying a remotely operated vehicle, and this is Gilligan. I don't know if you can see him there. He's the green sort of toaster on steroids.
I mean, even now, over 100 years after she sank, she just captures people.
People are so enthralled with Titanic. I read an article that said there are 3 words in the English language that are known throughout the planet, and that's Coca-Cola, God, and Titanic.
Stockton saw an opportunity to restart tourist visits to Titanic.
I'll hand it over.
There was discussion about how we would market those expeditions, how we would process paying clients, what the experience would look like, and how we would build and grow the product.
CEO Stockton Rush and his team will be the first since 2005 to see the site. Civilians paying the inflated price of first-class passage on the Titanic's maiden voyage.
You're there with a mission. So if somebody comes with us, they're going to work on operating the sonar.
But first the idea was to build a team.
As soon as I finished school, I joined the Royal Navy. I ended up working as a commercial diver, ROV pilot, and I've been involved in submersibles for 20 plus years now.
This is L5. Kilo, kilo, kilo. Roger, L5, hard seal.
My wife Carol, she actually saw an advert online at the time, and she said they're looking for somebody to fulfill the position of Director of Marine Operations.
A girlfriend of mine happened upon their website and sent it to me and said, "Wow, look at this. Isn't this cool?" I started diving in 2013 and I fell in love with it. So I basically was cyber stalking OceanGate for a while, and lo and behold, a bookkeeping job came up.
I was just on LinkedIn one day on the ferry and came across this company that was building submersibles in my backyard. And I thought, I love building stuff. Started in the Navy as a deep sea diver. I studied material science at UC Berkeley.
Rolling. Excellent. Okay.
They're looking for a technician.
It was a significant pay cut. I'm a CPA and I knew I'd be overqualified, but to be able to combine not only what I'm trained to do, but what my passion is, I mean, that sounds like a dream job to me.
The whole time we worked with OceanGate, everybody was privileged to be there, felt like they were special to be there.
As you can see here, we've got the manned submersible Cyclops. This is a 5-man submersible. It's got a maximum operating depth of 500 meters. The submersible itself is going to be running the submersible projects themselves. They had 2 existing subs, Cyclops 1 and Antipodes, and they had the build of Titan, which was exciting. I just felt like I was drawing in to actually do something that potentially nobody had ever done before.
Thanks very much.
The mechanical stuff and the control system with the PlayStation controllers. We even had an office down there. I'd go once or twice a week.
With APL being on board, I had a level of comfort. But the big appeal for myself to go over to this project was that the vehicle was going to be getting classed.
When we say something is classed, we're essentially saying that a third-party agency has independently certified it as safe. The analogy would be, if you decide to build a home custom-built aircraft. You can take yourself and your friends in it so long as nobody pays money. But the minute you want to transport fare-paying passengers in the vehicle, you need to get it certified by an independent agency. In the marine world, that would be called getting the vehicle classed.
They'll look at design, they'll look at build, they'll look at annual inspections on these things. OceanGate's other two subs had been classed. So with this whole vision of going to Titanic with this new submersible is one of the safest forms of transportation in the world. By the time we're done testing it, I believe it's pretty much invulnerable. And that's pretty much what they said about the Titanic. That's right.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Thank you. You may be seated.
We do the hearing in the form of a trial. It looks like a court.
All of my questions are related to your background and then your experience with OceanGate as a director of engineering.
Sure, sounds good. Several investigators asked the questions. Every witness in this instance has the right to counsel. Also participating in the hearing are the parties in interest. And you want to get to the facts, and that's the primary goal of a hearing. Cut through the rumors and get to actually what happened.
And what?
March of 2016.
And in March of 2016, what were you hired on as?
The director of engineering.
And what were your roles and responsibilities in that job as the director of engineering?
I was pitched by OceanGate that the Cyclops 2 craft, I was going to put to start executing it. And so my apologies, that's my watch telling me I have an abnormally high heart rate. I was originally asked to just finish this. It was going to be a year, and that's it.
And how would you describe the workplace environment when you started with the company?
And his leadership style. So I feel like we have a good understanding of how this meaning, what exactly? The business model didn't start to make sense to me. We didn't have an income stream. He said that they were going to flag the Titan in the Bahamas and launch out of Canada so that they wouldn't fall under U.S. jurisdiction, but that if the Coast Guard became a problem, that he would buy himself a congressman and make it go away. Mr. McCoy, is that a direct quote? He said I would buy a congressman. I've never had anybody say that to me directly, and I was aghast, and basically after that, I resigned from the company, and I couldn't work there anymore.
In those early, and I was very interested in what they were planning to do, which was kind of democratize ocean exploration. Got in touch with the company, I talked with Stockton, and then he invited me to come on their prototype vessel. Stockton was a typical startup entrepreneur. I've met many of them, dozens over the years, hundreds probably.
Where did this guy come from? Like, what do you know about Stockton Rush?
You know, he came from privilege, there's no doubt about that. He was a graduate of Princeton. Not the strongest student academically, but he obviously got an engineering degree. He built his own airplane from a kit, and that's a plane he would fly for many years afterward. Later, he even built a kit submersible, you know, very confident, full of enthusiasm. Both Stockton and his wife Wendy were from generational wealth. In fact, signers of the Declaration of Independence.
We read you loud and clear. How do you read us?
When you speak slowly, just sign. We're going to listen.
His wife Wendy, she was the great-granddaughter of two people who actually perished on the Titanic. The Strausses had formed a mercantile empire that actually resulted in such household names as the Macy's department store. So Stockton was definitely part of the 1%.
Stockton be a very awkward person. And if he wasn't happy with somebody, he was very vocal. Very vocal.
I have emails that were supplied to me by an anonymous source that shows how he dealt with people in his concerning.
I started hearing some stories about Stockton's temper. He seemed to be very defensive whenever anybody asked questions that were pointed. Are you aware of any dives where
everybody else? He came across, even initially, as quite arrogant.
It all really started with the idea that there had to be some kind of business opportunity in exploring the ocean. To me, that's where we're going to have cities before we have them up in space.
On the moon?
Yeah.
That is so cool. Minerals. He wanted to be. He referred to those guys as big swinging dicks, and he loved that term and used it all the time. If he could pull this off.
Would you describe Titan, based on the information that you know, as an experimental
I was hesitant to tell my wife and my family what I was doing because I was still a little bit skeptical. If I tell them, they're going to be worried. So I didn't want to put them through that. You could tell that Stockton was in charge. It was his operation.
Okay, you got it? Make sure you get on the back.
We have clients that are Titanic enthusiasts, which we refer to as Titaniacs. A lot of our...
So, head call for the mission specialists. 9 checks on board. Free break now or just a few minutes.
The term mission specialist is a workaround. There are some rules about operating vessels at sea. Those rules differ depending on whether you are a crew member or you're a paying passenger.
There are things that are maybe less critical. For example, reviewing video content. You know, you're not going to hurt anybody if you mess that up. But we have our mission specialists closing the dome. Well, that's pretty critical.
Stockton was trying to confuse that, insisting that nobody was ever referred to as a passenger.
Colin Taylor, mission specialist. Richard Taylor, mission specialist.
It was just one of the steps that OceanGate took to make sure that they could work around US legislation.
One of the things that impressed me is the total transparency. In all of the documentation, it was very straightforward that you're away.
I've got to say, being one of the first to go to the bottom of the ocean in an experimental sub sounds frightening.
Well, you're not alone. A lot of people have said that to me, but I felt confident. I felt confident in both Stockton and in PH. PH had been there 37 times, and he knows, everything about the Titanic and a whole lot about submersibles and diving.
Each dive is a new experience. Each dive is a new adventure because we never see the same thing exactly.
This is an elite French research vessel. George Tulloch is the expedition leader. Tulloch's company, RMS Titanic, is responsible for conserving the historic ocean liner. To coordinate the expedition, Tulloch has chosen P.H. Naugelet, a former French Navy commander.
J'apprécie beaucoup le Titanic, mais c'est vrai qu'aussi il m'a pris beaucoup de temps mon papa. Alors quand j'étais petite, nous vivions dans le sud de la France. Mon père n'était pas souvent à la maison parce qu'il était souvent en déplacement avec la marine. Il faisait beaucoup de missions en mer. Il découvrait de nouveaux objets. Il faut récupérer les objets et puis les protéger. C'était sa passion, le travail.
Steve, mission media and marketing and general ops support. PH subgroup. No. Most experienced submersible pilot in the world.
Et il ne travaillait pas pour OceanGate, je préfère le dire. Il était invité. Ça, c'est important.
There was a certain when we're coming across the floor, all of a sudden there's this big wall, and that was surreal. It was, oh my God, that's it.
We are alongside the hull now.
Right there is the bow.
Yeah, I can see the bow.
Oh wow, look there. Is that the telegraph or something? Yeah. Those are all the plaques. Yeah. And the plaques hanging. There was a million things running through my head, but the main thing was that I'm actually here seeing this. This was incredible. And I'll never forget that.
It's an incredible view more people are getting a chance to see up close. This expedition included nationally and world-renowned scientists, explorers, and Titanic experts. Leading the charge on this expedition is OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush. How do you feel?
Well, I get how I felt right when we were done, which was exhausted. And now I'm just...
I was really happy for them. I wanted them to succeed because their goal was noble.
Today we're getting some new first images from historic dive by OceanGate founder. And we're pleased to say that joins us live from Connecticut with more Stockton. This is incredible. I didn't really have a chance to absorb it until I got back to the ship. When I got to the surface was this amazing thing, because it had been 12 years I've been working to do this, and to get there was great.
You do have to acknowledge what he did do when he set out to do. He took a carbon fiber sub to the Titanic.
Yes, that is true, but there was no way of knowing when it was going to fail, but it was a mathematical certainty that it would fail. So having a dive or 2 or 10 to Titanic is not a measure of success. And personally, I will never understand how it survived the first test dives. The investigation will show that there was some switching of hulls about halfway through the process because the earlier one did fail.
Today we'll be doing our third pressure test of the carbon fiber hull. Reasonably, we would like to get to 6,000 psi, which is 4,100 meters. But there's a non-zero probability that it may implode, as it did in the first test that we did.
They did multiple tests because they were testing the depth. How deep can we go?
I knew it was new materials they were going to be using, the carbon fiber. I knew nothing about carbon fiber until I moved across. Nothing.
Carbon fiber is essentially string made from carbon. It's coated in a glue or a resin to hold it together. Carbon fiber is very, very strong, and it's a lighter and cheaper material.
It's in many new systems, many new products. People are using it for lots of reasons, because it's really light, really strong.
When I looked at the cost of operating a sub, it's the ship. The two things that drive the cost of submersible operations is not the replenishing the oxygen or the carbon dioxide, or that's nothing. It's all about the ship, and the next most important thing is mobilization. How do you get the stuff from one location to another? That's 90% of your cost.
If you were to build a 5-person sub out of steel and titanium, it would be extremely large, it would be extremely heavy. You'd need something enormous to lift it out of the water, to carry it.
Well, these ones are folded right now. Gonna have a look. This guy doesn't go any higher than where it is.
If you can realize that dream of a carbon fiber submersible, you can drop the price. You can suddenly have fleets of these submersibles operating around the world.
Okay, now what?
He's gonna do all that? Yeah.
It's not like metal. You know, titanium is extremely well understood. Carbon fiber is far more idiosyncratic in that the little fibers inside there can snap. That snap, that actually creates a sound.
We have the acoustic sensors. If we have carbon fiber that snaps, we can get the acoustics.
Anytime a fiber snaps, that weakens the structure, as you can imagine.
If an individual strand of fiber cracks, carbon cracks inside the hull, this hopefully will detect that crack, which is indicative of structural failure.
That's a fuzz.
This was called the acoustic monitoring system. It was basically an array of microphones all over the hull that listened for each of those fibers breaking. The sound of that carbon fiber snapping, OceanGate believed, could actually be used to determine whether it was about to fail the whole structure. In 2021, their website claimed that their real-time monitoring is an unparalleled safety feature, so that anyone inside that submersible would get a forewarning, they'd have time to stop their descent to surface safely.
We hope that we hear nothing. That would be ideal, that we hear nothing and that, you know, the structure is perfectly sound the whole way through the test. How did you get involved with OceanGate? So I contacted somebody at Boeing, so both myself and the other gentleman worked for Boeing.
Today we'll be doing our third pressure test of the carbon fiber hull. Reasonably, we would like to get to 6,000 psi, which is 4,100 meters. But there's a non-zero probability that it may implode, as it did in the first test that we did.
They did multiple tests because they were testing the depth. How deep can we go?
I knew it was new materials they were going to be using, the carbon fiber. I knew nothing about carbon fiber until I moved across. Nothing.
Carbon fiber is essentially string made from carbon. It's coated in a glue or a resin to hold it together. Carbon fiber is very, very strong, and it's a lighter and cheaper material.
It's in many new systems, many new products. People are using it for lots of reasons, because it's really light, really strong.
When I looked at the cost of operating a sub, it's the ship. The two things that drive the cost of submersible operations. It's not the replenishing the oxygen or the carbon dioxide, whatever. That's nothing. It's all about the ship, and the next most important thing is mobilization. How do you get the stuff from one location to another? That's 90% of your cost.
If you were to build a 5-person sub out of steel and titanium, it would be extremely large, it would be extremely heavy. It needs something enormous to lift it out of the water, to carry it.
What about these ones I'm holding right now? You don't have a left thing. This guy doesn't go any higher than where it is.
If you can realize that dream of a carbon fiber submersible, you can drop the price, you can suddenly have fleets of these submersibles operating around the world.
Okay, now what? He's gonna do all that? Yeah.
It's not like metal. You know, titanium is extremely well understood. Carbon fiber is far more idiosyncratic in that the little fibers inside there can snap. That snap, that actually creates a sound.
We have the acoustic sensors. If we have carbon fiber that snaps, we can pick that up in the acoustics.
Anytime a fiber snaps, that weakens the structure, as you can imagine.
If an individual strand of fiber cracks, carbon cracks inside the hull, this hopefully will detect that crack, which is indicative of structural failure.
That's some fuzz.
This was called the acoustic monitoring system. It was basically an array of microphones all over the hull that listened for each of those fibers breaking. The sound of that carbon fiber snapping, OceanGate believed, could actually be used to determine whether it was about to fail the whole structure. In 2021, their website claimed that their real-time monitoring is an unparalleled safety feature, so that anyone inside that submersible would get a forewarning. They'd have time to stop their descent to surface safely.
We hope that we hear nothing. That would be ideal, that we hear nothing and that, the structure is perfectly sound the whole way through the test.
How did you get involved with OceanGate?
So they had contacted somebody at Boeing. So both myself and the other gentleman, Jay, worked for Boeing.
Connecting with Boeing helped a lot. Carbon fiber was something these Boeing engineers understood, and they were just based literally, steps away from the headquarters in Everett, Washington. So the Boeing team there in 2013 created a concept design document. It was a pretty hefty document, like 70 pages, I think. In that document, I would say they had set out a path or a roadmap to build such a vessel. These Boeing engineers were very concerned about the possible performance of the carbon fiber hull.
The purpose for this test is we've scaled the hull down to about a quarter of the size, the full-size model. We assemble it, we put all our instrumentation in it, we run it and put it into the chamber, and it simulates taking that hull down to the depth that we want to go. Stable.
Yeah, we're stable.
Okay. John, you ready? 1500? Go ahead.
Each one of these pulses is some kind of an event in the hull. Epoxy settling or a strand breaking, hopefully not breaking. But
what's our pressure, John?
You're at 3,500.
4? Yeah. Let's go to 4. Where are we now? There we are.
Everything did. Let's just see how she settles down, but there's a lot of events.
Yeah, you don't want to.
Okay.
Where did it go to?
Went to 4,000. We had 4,000.
So at least you know acoustic monitoring works. Well, yeah, but yeah, the fact that he couldn't even get to the last pressure we did last time. Okay. That solves a lot.
That day they were super excited, and when it exploded, they got pissed.
Yeah, right.
Stockton, he had that vibe of like, everything is gonna work out, like, we got this.
Yeah, so for it to explode. Okay. I think it was around 3,000 psi. We started to see a little bit of acoustic activity on one of the hemispheres, and it got worse. And when we stopped at 4,000 psi, the whole thing failed. So the good news is we started to see evidence of failure before it happened, which is one of the test objectives, to validate the acoustic monitoring and see if you can predict failure. All tests are good tests. That came out different. It makes a piece of art. It's regular.
The monitoring system for the hull was something that was dreamt up by OceanGate in order to try and give some comfort to people who were asking too many questions.
After we set the threshold to 2,000, now here we have a bunch of events that have happened here on a number of different data channels. So right now it's been relatively quiet at 6,000. So we're going to go up to 6,500. And if we start seeing some events, we'll stop.
You know, if I have a ski made of carbon or composite material, and I'm putting pressure on the ski and you can hear it creaking and cracking, you don't actually know when it's going to snap.
I would say that was it.
Can we stop now?
Yeah, I think so.
So you're listening to this thing screaming, you're listening to it stressing and telling you that it's under immense pressure, but it can't tell you when it's going to fail.
The Boeing engineers sent Stockton an analysis of that hull, forces exerted on the hull as it would go deeper and deeper, and had a skull and crossbones at the depth just below, where a Titanic would be sitting. It's quite a telling sign to me that their concerns went pretty deep.
Why did OceanGate and Boeing stop working together?
I don't know exactly. I think maybe we were too expensive.
Even when it was obvious that Boeing wasn't going to build the sub, Stockton kind of had the recipe book. And then I think Stockton realized that he needed some engineering expertise in-house. You couldn't contract everything out to University of Washington, APL.
As the director of engineering, did you make all engineering decisions?
No.
Did you make any engineering decisions?
Yes.
And who would make the majority of the engineering decisions?
It was Stockton. Most people would just eventually back down from Stockton. Like it was almost death by 1,000 cuts.
So Tony came on board, I think, in 2016. He centralized a lot of the engineering expertise and hired other engineers and built up the engineering team that were to really replace UW, to do their own designs, and to create a finished vessel.
Stockton turned to me and said, "Well, that's your problem."
The wreck itself, it lies off Nantucket. We steamed out with the submersible Cyclops 1. is for the company and was going to be very dangerous.
We're going to stay down as long as possible. We have a new comms procedure. We're going to go 2 hours. We're going to drop 100 meters up current, best guess.
Like Titanic, the plan was to actually map the entire wreck. I was going to be taking 4 of the paying passengers down. But on the day of diving, Stockton decided he no longer wanted me in the sub. He was going to be taking the passengers down, and that's when I protested. The wreck is decaying at a rapid rate. It's very, very dangerous. There's a lot of hazards. He just decided he wanted to do what he wanted to do, and he was the CEO. So we did lock heads on that day. I eventually persuaded him to allow me to come in the sub, but he wanted to pilot it.
Possibly hanging yourself then.
I want to start the camera now. Go for it. Go ahead. That did well. That did well. Dive.
Roger, liftoff.
Clear the large.
Yeah.
Roger, read you topside. We are 32 meters descending.
Good. At 40 meters.
When you get bottom contact, we are at 8 meters off.
Nothing yet.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. It's right there, see it?
Okay, bring it in. It's fully empty.
Oh.
There it is.
Yeah.
You see it perfectly well. That the light.
Can we,
Rotate a little bit more.
well, we're very, very close.
Too dangerous for now.
There's debris all around us.
Yep. You see it?
That's a shot right out.
Wow.
I'm just saying we're close. I'm not telling you.
Just tell me about me moving.
He came down, drove forward 3 meters away from the bow. Basically, he brought us into a debris field.
Okay, I'm gonna put some lights on. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
I'm gonna lower to the 3 o'clock so that if we drift past it.
Okay.
Okay?
The wreck's only 3 meters off to the port side. Stop. So,
Whoa, come down. Keep coming down. Okay, if you get nothing ahead of you, kick ahead, okay? Kicking ahead slowly. What is it? Don't know. Just keep going. About a hull.
he brought us in to the starboard side and jammed us in underneath the bow. So he had just jammed good and proper. I said to him, please, don't do anything, just give me the control arm.
If we went straight up, we're not going to hit it, we're going to get damn close to it.
No, we are going to hit it. No, we're going to go here.
Chris, if you can keep an eyeball out at the port view, the port side of the viewport, okay, we're just looking for any cables, any wires. Didn't have a lot of experience in piloting subs.
Right, it's a piece of debris, for sure. It's right above us, okay?
At that point, I got us clear, I motored 50 metres away, turned us round, and I said, that is what we were supposed to have fucking done on the dive. And he said, thank you, I owe you one.
Topside, for information, we are 30 meters off the bow, returning to surface. Current depth 52 meters.
Was right behind us. David took over.
Yeah. David was looking up.
He looked up and they go
straight.
There's a wreck down there. It's big.
The passengers were hugging, but with Stockton, it was a complete turnaround for me.
On 3, 1, 2.
He never really spoke to me the rest of the trip. The dynamic changed. After the Andrea Doria, I started getting cut out by senior management from the Titan project. I was dropped from all email communications, verbal communications. I was totally out of the loop, but at the same time, I am the chief pilot. I was the director of Marine Ops. It was going to be me that was going to be doing all these dives. Obviously, in my head, I'm like, this isn't right. It's not right. Being me, very vocal. I spoke to some of the board of directors when they came in. I would speak to Stockton on a regular basis. Chief Operating Officer, Stockton's wife, all these people that basically ran this company, and I would speak to them and express my concerns. And because it didn't just come in as a ready-built sub, I was seeing every single piece, and pretty much every single piece had an issue.
Today is a critical joining of the titanium and the carbon fiber. That seal needs to be uniform and small, but not too small.
This is the point of no return right here. The engineering director, Tony Nissen, we used to argue on a regular basis.
Level, do a good cleaning, check the surface out.
He brought in people that had very little experience from the manned submersible industry. A lot of them were fresh out of college.
Mark Walsh is lead electrical engineer and a recent grad of WSU Engineering School in Everett. 24-year-old Nicholas Nelson is too.
Just knowing that we're sending something down to 4,000 meters and it's our design that's being brought there is just amazing.
For a while, David would come to me and kind of want to use the word complain, but really it's David's way of expressing his concern.
At the time, I had no experience of carbon fiber, but for the untrained eye, it was like Swiss cheese. You could actually see the porosity, you could see the delaminations, you could see all the voids. When they eventually sealed up the titanium interface rings, they took it out into the car park at Everett and sprayed it with truck bed liner.
Stockton was annoyed if somebody just questioned the idea of what we were doing. He very much took that personally.
An Everett-based company just finished building a submarine that they'll take to the Titanic this summer.
So this is a laser scanner.
OceanGate Engineering Director Tony Nissen is showing off some of the high-tech equipment he and his team are about to install on their newest 5-person sub, Titan. New cameras will capture 4K resolution.
As these components were actually getting put together, I was the only person to stand up to them and say, you have to get this thing inspected. We have to get the third-party inspectors in. Are you getting them in? We are dealing with it. We are dealing with it. I was fobbed off on every occasion.
Brings a tear to my eye. It's a lot of pain to get here. That's all. It was a lot of pain to get here. We did this extremely fast.
We were at lunch one day at OceanGate, and Stockton said that he decided that he saw no need for classification for third-party oversight.
How'd that go over at lunch?
I stood up and I said, I'm sorry, I can't be part of this conversation, nor can I be associated with OceanGate or this vehicle in any way. And I left. He had every contact in the submersible industry telling him not to do this. But once you start down the path of doing it entirely yourself, when you realise you've taken the wrong turn right back in the beginning, particularly for Stockton, then you have to admit that you were wrong. That's a big pill to swallow.
Ready to rock and roll.
They said to me, this is getting handed off to you in the coming weeks. I'm like, guys,
I've already said, we're not diving this. So Stockton said to me, okay, I want you to go out there and carry out an inspection of the Titan. Over a number of days, I did tests. I took photographs. From there, drafted what I thought was a very nice email stating, at the end of the day, the responsibility lies with me, and I sent that out on January the 18th. Following morning, I get an email. We're going to be holding a meeting. It was myself, it was Bonnie Carroll, the HR director, Scott Griffiths, quality assurance director. I had Stockton Rush, the CEO, and Tony Nissen.
So what is today? 18th? 19th, 1 o'clock. Recording this. Okay, so first question. Give me some background. What brought this on? How long have you had some of these concerns?
Basically, I'm not naive. I could sense the mood.
Part of it is I also want to know what led up to this and what's your goal with this document?
Well, the goal for this document for me is the safety of anybody that goes in there, including you. I could tell in Stockton's voice he was nervous, he was shaking, I could see his hands.
He was angry. He was so angry. It's not the most angry I've seen him or heard. But that day was pretty bad.
It's completely opposite of everyone else says. Everyone says, oh, carbon fiber can't handle compression. They're full of shit, and I've proven them to be full of shit. It's been an 8-year project. I know what the hell I'm talking about. So, keep going.
In terms of you going in the submersible, I am so against you doing it.
I understand.
You should be putting that stuff on a wire with everything that's experimental.
I know that's your issue. And I don't know, wire is not without safety issues, for one. Well, and secondly, this is how we're doing it, period. Done. I've looked at it. What you do is you set a testing program where you do it incrementally. It's not going to just go to 3,100 and be perfect, and at 3,200 it all goes away. That ain't going to happen, and I will put my life on the line to say that ain't going to happen.
Why test something with people in it? I don't understand that. To me, it was just sheer arrogance.
I don't want anybody in this company who is uncomfortable with what we're doing. We're doing weird shit here, and I am definitely out of the mold. There's no question I'm doing things that are completely non-standard, and I'm sure the industry thinks I'm a fucking idiot. That's fine. They've been doing that for 8 years, and I'm going to continue on the way I'm doing. If I'm not going to force people to join my religion if they don't want to.
I didn't know what to say. Well, I was blown away that at this point they were willing to play Russian roulette.
Is there a tumor?
We need David on this group. In my opinion, we need him here.
And Stockton's made a decision. I just feel a tad let down right now with your comments. I'm pretty gutted, to be honest with you. This is the first time on paper I've ever put any of the safety concerns. My God, Stockton, you know, every expedition we've had, we've had issues. I've been through every single expedition.
I'm not denying that.
Do you now want to let me go? That's the question.
I don't see we have a choice.
I feel bad for David. I really do. It shouldn't have happened. That day, Stockton told me it would be nothing for him to spend $50,000 to ruin somebody's life.
Did he say that to you in regards to David?
Yeah. That changed my life in that company. Changed how I had to manage the engineering department. I had to make sure that nobody spoke up. I worked for somebody that is probably borderline clinical psychopath, but definitely a narcissist. How do you manage a person like that who owns the company?
I knew at that moment I couldn't work at that company anymore. I went home and updated my LinkedIn profile, and obviously I didn't say anything to Stockton or Neil at that point. And Stockton went along as though, okay, now Bonnie is going to be our next lead pilot, and this is going to be great. We're going to have a female lead pilot. This is going to play well to the media. And I just remember thinking, what is happening? Like, are you nuts? I'm an accountant. I decided to leave. I don't think I said 2 words to Stockton, and that's where I left it at.
I had stuck with the company for over a year as an intern. Near the end of my senior year of university, they sent me to the Bahamas. Titan was down there testing. That was kind of like, all right, you can help work on the stuff, and if it's something that works out for both of us, then we can take you on full time and give you a job offer. It was my first work trip.
So we've got dive 39, objective of a 4,200 meter depth. We've got a long day ahead of us, so we're going to be starting operations tonight. The game plan is to start vessel prep at 3 a.m.
At the beginning, Stockton did the dives by himself in Titan.
Okay. We got the recorder on. Voice recorder is on. It is 3:55 a.m. in sunny Marsh Harbor.
He had said it was loud, but he had said that's what we expected. That's the carbon fiber seasoning. I've never heard of seasoning a hole.
Okay. Did get quite a bit of noise. Got that on the microphone. Quite attention-getting pops. Get your attention.
Stockton wanted 1 acoustic sensor on there. I put 18 strain gauges and 9 acoustic sensors. He was angry that I did that. He was more afraid of being lost at sea, sitting on the surface, than he was of the vehicle imploding.
Unbelievable. 39, 38 meters data.
Great accomplishment, everybody. Let's celebrate. Yeah, funny thing is, this was mission 39. The depth I got on the camera, 3939. I did it on purpose just for that. I could have easily gone to 4, but why? Anybody who doesn't call it 39. Anybody who calls 3939.4 is an ass. It violates the NAR, and then we don't care. It's like it. That's like it's okay.
Scratch that.
That's right. You're gonna edit it. Yeah. 4039.
Yeah. Lighter unloadable. Okay. We were looking at the data, and I told Stockton, I said, look, we don't know what good looks like. What I do know is it shouldn't look like that. If your hearing or your acoustic monitoring system is showing you spikes, it's still breaking. You don't want to hear that anymore, because if it's not breaking, it's intact.
Congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Do you think Stockton understood the risks?
No, he didn't. Allegedly, he's a degreed aerospace engineer, but there are scientific principles they wholly didn't understand. '19 was going to be the first Titanic mission. He was angry I wouldn't sign off on it. You need another dive. Like, we need a clean dive out of this. The harvest testing process went on for months.
All right, Mark, let it go. Again.
It's a bit of a chaos, to be honest. There were a lot of problems with the electrical systems, which needed replacing. And at that point, they'd already had some really serious concerns about what was going on with that hull, the noises it was making.
Looking good. Hold that line. Hold that line. Yeah, I'll hit the starboard.
It took 4 months from Stockton's solo dive for them to dive the Titan again to a deep test. On board that day was another submersible expert, Carl Stanton. He had built his own submarine, he was operating it for tourism down in Honduras, and Stockton was proud and wants to show off the Titan.
My relationship with Stockton goes back at least 10, possibly up to 15 years. When I learned that he was making a carbon fiber sub, I was excited about it. I went out to Washington and I gave him a week of free labor working on the first version of the launch and recovery vehicle, with the understanding that one day, somewhere, that I was going to get a ride. We dove over 12,000 feet.
40 to the bottom. 40 meters to the bottom. I do not have visions.
The cracking sounds would amplify when you got deeper.
So after you came up from the dive, did you partake in any meeting where the results of the real-time monitoring acoustic sensors were examined by the group and tried to isolate where the sound occurred?
That information was not shared with me. He didn't think much of he didn't have me sign a waiver. Never gave me a spiel about how everything's transparent and please ask any questions. It was just like, you're here, let's go.
How are you doing? Hey.
After the dive, Carl and Stockton exchanged emails.
yesterday do not seem consistent with blue joints breaking, air cavities breaking. The only question in my mind is if it will fail catastrophically. At any point within those emails were you made aware that a crack was identified in the hull?
I had tickets to St. John's. I was going to be a part of the topside team. We were planning out a lot. We had mobilized and shipped containers, and then one of our pilots found a crack in the sub.
Okay, good. Wait, go in with the needle nose another inch. Okay, right there. Right there. Right there. Yeah. Do it again. I can see not the paint moving, but I see black hole moving in and out. Black moving, yep.
They brought everything back from the Bahamas, and they ended up having some of the engineering team grind out the carbon fiber hull to see how deep in the crack went. That was not public knowledge, and they said, do not say anything to anyone.
After I got back from the Bahamas and cutting out a lot of the crack, Stockton asked me to go to lunch. And he told me that 2 people on the board told him that I should have known that this problem was there. And I told Stockton I did know, and I told you it was there. And in fact, I wrote a report that showed that it was there. And Stockton said, well, one of us has to go, and it's not going to be me. Okay.
A few engineering folks were fired. I was very surprised. We had a meeting 6 days before my flight to St. John's. Coincidentally, the boat canceled as well. To the public, Stockton said, obviously we need a topside vessel. And they said, yeah, we're not going. And then it was later brought out to the public, we're going to redo this hull. And I don't think it was ever quite explicitly said why. I was like, I should just quit.
I wasn't going to fight him. I was going to go to the board. Because Stockton stated clearly he likes to ruin a life.
For the U.S. Department of Labor, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, I am conducting an intake interview of Mr. David Lockridge. Mr. Lockridge contacted our office in 2018. Initially, I thought his case seemed like it was pretty strong.
Most submersible movie on the R-class under the sex agencies Boeing, UPS, GL. The owner turned around just after Christmas and said, no, we're not classing anything, so it's not going to be classed, it's not going to be insured.
Within days of that happening, OceanGate were informed. I was enrolled under the Whistleblower Protection Scheme. I was told that I would be protected.
OceanGate did respond. They filed a lawsuit against Mr. Lockridge. It was, we're coming after you, your wife, your house, your green card, everything. I mean, it was a crusade. How dare you stand up against me?
Wankers. That's on camera. Wanker's a good word over here.
It's called the Whistleblower Protection Program, right? Unfortunately, whistleblowers, they're not protected from retaliation. We're not like the, witness protection program or something like that. What we do is investigate.
The intent was to shut us down. Basically, keep me quiet so they could proceed with the project, get out to Titanic and take people out there.
specific set of questions. When I say Titan Hall for these questions, I am specifically talking about the second Titan Hall.
Okay.
Can you describe the third scale model testing?
I don't have those tests in front of me. I didn't get them, but I know that it failed. So we knew that we had to do something different because it wasn't working.
After the crack happened, I wanted to quit. That's when they're like, you know what, we're gonna remake the hull for Titan in a better way. And I was like, okay, they're doing the right thing. I can stay.
There was a lot of pressure when this first hull failed. They suddenly realized not only can we not get revenue coming in this year, we now have to replace either that hull or the whole vessel. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars by the time you put in people's time and effort.
Right before the new year, Stockton and the new engineering head that they had brought on offered me a position as a project manager to help out with the timeline management of the new hull. They also said, we want to train you as a submersible pilot. We want to bring you full-time onto the operations team. Stockton, he had said, we want you to be a female young pilot. We want you to be the face of the company. He says he doesn't want a 60-year-old man or something. When I asked for a raise, they said, no, this is lateral. And then, because I think that you might ask me again why I stayed.
Yes, I will.
It was COVID. And was watching all my friends throughout the pandemic get laid off everywhere. And I was like, okay, if I have a job, cling on to it.
Money got tight. You realised suddenly you were looking at probably a 2-year runway before you could dive again. Stockton downsizes the engineering team.
There were not a lot of big meetings regarding the build of the new hull. It was oftentimes the head of engineering, the COO, and Stockton, and myself. They were working with a lot of different carbon fiber vendors, and the group that they hired to make it, they were carbon fiber industry experts, but they had not ever made a submersible before. The third scale model was built and then tested in July of 2020. It failed at 3,000 meters. And that was pretty disheartening, I think, for the team. But then for me, it was kind of the response to that. So to confirm, there was no successful third scale model test to Titanic depth prior to going to this full scale.
That's correct. That's correct.
They started on the full size hull. Yeah. I did speak up. A lot of people did. Like, they discussed their concerns. They're like, what do you mean? Like, this failed. You're gonna keep going? Stockton was just so set on getting to the Titanic that nothing that anybody said made much of a difference. And I was not going to bolt anyone inside of that sub. And that was something that a lot of my coworkers at the time agreed on, and none of which stayed with the company much longer. And they said, you either stick with us or you don't. And I said, okay, I'm putting in my 2 weeks.
Did you track what was happening after you left?
Yeah, as best I could. I was just hoping they weren't gonna go.
To this day, we, the journalists, don't know how much we were misled by whatever Stockton told us. I'm a correspondent for CBS Sunday Morning, and one day I got an email that said a company called OceanGate has invited us to do
can't put a live correspondent on anything that's dangerous. We were there in the second summer of operation. They would make 5 expeditions a summer. 1 9-day trip is an expedition. They do that 5 times. Each expedition has 5 chances to go down to see the Titanic. There's 25 opportunities per summer, and in total, after 2 summers, they'd only been down there 9 times. But I felt like OceanGate had a maniacal safety culture. They had this rule of 3. If 3 tiny things were wrong or out of place or not optimal, they don't dive. They cancel the dive.
They bring us back up. They bring us back up. Yep. Yep, they bring us back up. Something happened. Something happened.
They had literally the leading expert on Titanic diving, P.H. Nargelet, probably the greatest expert alive. I asked him over and over, nothing about this worries you? And he said, no, of course not.
I said, okay, that's fine. That's fine. No problem.
That also gave me a lot of reassurance. What is your function on this expedition?
I'm helping as much I can because I know a little bit of Titanic.
You know a lot about the Titanic.
PH's involvement is always going to be a mystery to us. He was told in no uncertain terms that he was lending his credentials to something that had a clear and obvious form to it.
Slow down, he's just in front of us.
His response was always the same. I'm an old man. I've had a fantastic career. If I can help add safety to their operation, then that's a win.
Oh my god! There's the bow, guys! You guys see it? Look at that, though. It just kind of emerges out.
Okay, done. There we go.
How on earth did Stockton get as far as he did? I never understand that.
We've been lucky. You know, as I don't know if Elon came up with this, but you know, luck is the #1 superpower. And anybody who's done things in the ocean would appreciates luck.
It just became such a tight group of people who had such strong belief in what they thought they were doing that it became almost cult-like.
Titan topside. Welcome back to the service.
Yeah, baby!
Just make it possible. He fully believed in what he was doing and that it would work. Why else would he be the pilot on most of the dives? Why else would he invite television crew to film it? Your sub has just returned from the entire day at the Titanic. Again.
Our David Pogue was invited recently to join the highly select and very small group of people.
Our story about OceanGate aired in November of 2022. I think viewers thought it was super cool, super interesting. Stockton was thrilled. He said, we're already getting calls.
Mr. Catterson, did you ever go on a dive on Titan? Would you have felt comfortable going on the Titan to depth?
Stockton's and my relationship started to turn sour as everything was built. I think one of wanted me to be the pilot that runs the Titanic missions. And I told him I'm not getting in it. That certainly was the death of me.
If you can't convince your own people who believe in your mission that your vessel is safe, then there's something deeply wrong with your company. Right? Do you listen to those concerns? Do you take them on board? Do you make them part of the process of making this the safest vehicle that they all wanted? Or do you call them into conference room and say you're fired? The unsung hero in this is Dave Lockridge. He was perhaps alone in the room that realised how bad things really were. I mean, he refused to compromise his professional standards.
We decided to counter-sue OceanGate, but rather than what OceanGate did is they decided to sue us in civil court, which remains behind closed doors. We decided to do it in federal court so that it would become public knowledge and the public have complete information. We had to fight them wherever we have got them. But it was costing us financially. I mean, for the first 7 months, we put savings into this. We fought them from our own pocket. As you can imagine, a lawsuit is no easy thing, especially when you're being threatened with theft, fraud.
Once we get the written response, we get all the evidence from both sides. Unfortunately, at that point, the investigation has to pause because as an investigator, I have a lot of other cases.
Please note that at this time, I have 11 cases that are older than yours. I will be in contact with you as needed. Thank you for your patience. My wife and I had decided this is, I'm going to say pointless, but it was going nowhere and it was causing more harm for us. It's difficult. So Carol and I decided to walk away. We were running out of money. We were running out of fight. We were done. We were burnt out. The authorities weren't willing to help us. We had to walk away. That was it.
He had OceanGate breathing down his neck, so he basically withdrew his complaint.
And then that case just goes away.
Dr. Ross, in Expedition 2022, were you there for the entirety of the expedition? All 5 missions?
No, I only attended mission 4 and 5.
Were you on board for Dive 80?
Yes.
We know that the carbon fiber was starting to react differently at depth based on the incident that occurred on Dive 80.
We were ascending, and I don't recall the depth. I think we were fairly close to the surface, but we were still underwater, and there was just a large bang or cracking sound.
On mission 4, we got to the surface, Scott was piloting, he heard a really loud bang. Not a soothing sound, but on the surface, and as I understand the PH will attest, almost every deep diving sub makes a noise at some point.
The vessel was still able to make additional dives after that occurred, but the data changes significantly after Dive 80. That's where the real-time monitoring system could have been a huge benefit. Because it is showing additional fibers are breaking. That should have been a warning. In the end, they discounted the one system that was going to be vital to their operations. It is really, in my mind, like the smoking gun of what eventually caused this.
What we really wanted to do was bring the sub back, at least to Everett, and pull the insert and look at the inside of the hull to see if there were any cracks, and
frustrating because it was left in St. John's and left on the dock.
I told Stockton, don't do that. Once we build this, it cannot be stored in sub-zero. It cannot go freezing. If water gets in there and you set it out in freezing conditions and that water expands, it breaks fibers. With 100% certainty, that sub could not go freezing. It's critical to keep the water out.
We had no way to work on it, no way to look at it, and we were told it was a cost issue. That the cost of shipping it back was prohibitive. They were low on money, so we couldn't do that. And really, that was basically around the time that I left. That it got quite frustrated with some of these issues and had decided to leave the company.
By the third operating season, it was clear that a lot of the engineering expertise had departed OceanGate. It appeared that OceanGate felt comfortable after the vessel was able to get to depth, that they had a proven concept that could just keep operating.
You mean just points of so bad?
Oh, yeah. All right. So first time hopping on the boat. I'm so excited. We're going to walk up, check it out, and just kind of go around and see what we got ourselves into for the next few days. Let's go. My name is Jake Kohler. I'm a YouTuber. Scuba Jake is really what I go by. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name's Jake, and I'm a treasure hunter. So today we're in a Chattanooga. What was it about the Titanic? I was always intrigued by the slow riffs. I mean, I actually went online and looked at the videos and just seen what it looked like. Like one of the scariest movies growing up was the Titanic for me. It was really weird, like coming full circle that I was gonna go check it out as an adult, but I actually reached out to OceanGate myself.
So here it is. This is Titanic right here. This is take a look. So is that the part you said aesthetically? Yeah, this fiberglass is up. Kind of the hood is open. Makes it look a little bit more like we're winging it, which is pretty cool. Yeah, winging it.
Where so far that's they had not had a successful.
I learned that, especially when I first got the Newfoundland, that the first couple missions were unsuccessful. It's just the weather was so bad. We spent a few days out there, and I got seasick a lot. When you're going out, it was always really windy. The waves were really big. I was ready to get home, not gonna lie, but at the same time, we came for a reason. Alright, we're doing it now. There you go. Submarine, everything there. What I didn't realize is freezing cold. And we got in. It was really strange because at that point I've never been inside of it before. We're doing it. literally straight down.
What's he saying right now?
He said, "You're locked in." Okay, to lock in.
Okay, so that means they're probably gonna bring us out.
Yeah, you know, because we've had no comms for
For a while. Didn't hear it.
we're about to go off, but the fog rolled in, so that dive was canceled.
Usually hear what happened up there. I'm sure it's not really fun.
Which kind of sounds, you know, weird to say now, but I was a bit disappointed. That whole duration probably took a couple hours, but I remember I remember my feet being cold. It was like condensation on the inside of the submersible. You see it beating. Later on, I remember they had the crane holding up the dome after everyone had passed away, and I just remembered my feet was literally on that dome, you know, just a few days before. And I'm just thinking, like, damn, you know, like, if that was me, super tough. You know, so really, it's not about me. You know, just feel bad for everyone else, of course, but it's tough. It's a lot of what ifs, but can't live like that, you know.
2023, OceanGate had made 4 previous dive attempts. They were all foxed by either weather or technical difficulties. On the first dive of the final expedition, about 1.5 hours into that dive, communications and tracking suddenly stopped. From the very first time I talked with people when the sub was still missing, there were sources who were saying to me they had left because of Stockton. I had one source who told me he had 2 phones because of Stockton. He didn't want Stockton to know what phone. There was one who actually wouldn't really fully open up to me until we all learned that Stockton had died. It was at that exact moment I believed there was a real story about why this had happened.
This is the future of the company. This is the path I've determined to take. I have no desire to die. I got a nice granddaughter. I am going to be around.
The real mistake isn't in the idea that something wasn't classed. We didn't follow a set of regulations. That's not really the mistake.
Stockton came to identify himself with OceanGate. He's the guy who does this. He's the guy who breaks through barriers to unlock the oceans to humanity. If you criticize any aspect of that operation, you're criticizing him personally.
The main thing is if something goes wrong with you being in that submersible, your top side support. I really
Now to the new lawsuit by the family of a Titanic explorer killed in the submersible implosion last year. The wrongful death suit seeks $50 million and claims those on board were terrified as they realized what was happening.
He wanted fame. First and foremost, to fuel his ego, fame. That was what he wanted. And he's got it.
I have no desire to know, and I'm not going